What's up, everybody, in the SFL? Cameron Irvine here with you tonight. Finally, man, been working on this stuff for a while. Welcome to our new website, y'all. You can explore the website right now at, I wish I would have had the address right in front of me here. We don't have our domain name up just yet, but we do have our website that you can explore, simfl.footballshift.com/home. simfl.footballshift.com/home. Before we get to the features and what all we got going on the new website, let's introduce who's with me on the call tonight. First, the man that's been here since August 2022 says, man, you should look at this thing. You should look at this old 2K game they're retrofitting. That's Mike O'Neill. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, Cam? Appreciate you having me here. Just stoked for this new era. Stoked for this, everything that's going on tonight, and really looking forward to the future. A lot of great sneak peeks tonight.
We got plenty to talk about tonight. Also with us are a couple of Hall of Fame finalists. First, Chris Curtis. What's going on, Chris?
Doing it pretty all right. It's been a long time coming. I haven't been as involved with a lot of the technical details, but I do know quite a bit about this. Should be a lot of fun to go into the new era of the Simulation Football League. I'm as excited as you guys are in chat. Everybody's jumping right now.
And Michael Torillo's here. What's up, Mike?
Hey everybody, man, tonight feels like the culmination of about 6 months of work of a team of about 6 to 8 dedicated people, and it feels amazing to finally reveal the full scope of what we've been working on.
So, with that all being said, teams received some information earlier today. We announced the Hall of Fame finalist list earlier this week. Those ballots are out, and now the teams are voting on those. You'll hear about the Hall of Fame class on Tyler Falk and I's call of the quarterfinal game Saturday, April 29th. That is next Saturday. He will be at SFL HQ to call the game with me, and we're going to have fun that weekend. Polly, Jay in the chat, $10 super chat, 4K23 time. Going to be a great thing. Can't wait to take all this info in and head into this new era together. Hashtag Nemesis. All right, let's get into our partnership with Football Shift. What you can expect out of the new website. Here's some updates. Score ticker, you see it at the top. It will feature all the games on the schedule. We'll offer previews that include matchup history and team leaders once we've got stats culminated and all that history put into the website. If you hover over the ticker, like I just did on the Indy and Vancouver game, it'll offer you links that will take you directly to the box score and give you a live game link as well, as those games are in progress. We are working with Football Shift on live stats for SFL games. It's not something that you'll see in 2023, but they're a long-term partner for us. We're really excited about their product, and we hope to one day soon bring live stats to the SFL website so everyone can keep up with how all the games are going statistically in real time. That's big for stuff like fantasy football and all that kind of stuff that we want to get to. Our team suite, teams drop down, takes you to new team pages that feature player stats, team roster, its schedule and scores. You can easily go from one team to the next using the drop down menu. So if I wanted to go to Torillo's Skyhawks, we'll hit that page. You'll see there the player stats here. Corey Menner's done a great job, has all the players for the teams already in and ready to go for next season. And we'll get to transactions and if your team moves around as well in the later stages. You see the schedule. Of course, Carolina playing Tulsa here in the playoffs, which is where we're starting out. And then your scores, if you want to choose a different team, you can go up here, or you can search for teams by division. Go from team to team one at a time. Makes it super simple. Let's get back to, you can see how fast it is too. That's always nice. We got our players suite. Player pages have received major upgrades. Ability for players to add a photo and a bio of themselves to the league website. Pages will feature season and career stats along with individual game logs. We'll show you an example of that. Go to Arizona and go to roster. get our full view. Here's where all your players can, where all of you can add your photos in there. Ashley Jackson's page. Got a bio place in here as well, and then stats for Jackson as well. We've got player movement, new transactions page. Will show when players have moved from one team to the next, and man, it's super quick on the back end. It'll automatically put you on the correct team on leaderboards. We've been having to do all this manual stuff for years. It's nobody's fault. It just is. It's been the way it's been, and it was time for an upgrade. Enhanced coverage. Our team of content creators will have new features debuting throughout the season. New Stars of the Game and Players of the Month awards will further spotlight shining stars on the gridiron. DJ Woods, $2 super chat. Please add dark mode. Look into that, DJ. Leaderboard upgrades. New leaders section will break out the top 5 of key statistical categories. Leaders can now be broken down by division for further bragging rights of all division honors. Playoff brackets are back, and championship history memorializes the greats. Before I get into any further of this, O'Neal, Curtis, Torillo, favorite thing I've talked about so far?
I mean, I think my favorite thing is the live stats potential, because something that I struggle with is somebody who works a lot of the time when SFL games are going on is keeping up with the SFL games without actually like moving off and opening YouTube on my phone and checking the score. It'll be huge to eventually have that.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's just the fluidity of the site, and you see how fast the site moves around. And just, you know, to second this, I know that you're previewing this on a computer, but I've looked at this website on my phone, and it is flawless. I mean, like, it's so easy to just navigate through and just go everywhere you're trying to go without any of like the hassle, that comes with being on a mobile device, which a lot of people, people who work, they're going to be primarily on their phone. So I think that's a huge thing. I think it's just going to add, just a lot of immersion into the league for sure.
I like it. The live ticker for me, not just the live stats that Trillo was mentioning, but the live ticker, easily navigating to games that are in progress is going to be huge, because before you had to go to separate channels, separate places to get that done. Now it's all linked in one place at the SFL website, making it the hub of everything simulation football.
You'll be able to go back to previous seasons, the schedule, the standings, the playoffs, the leaderboards. You don't have to go to the stats site and then to previous seasons and then clicking through all the tabs and all that stuff. It's all organized for you. Now, our team is going to be, slow and steady wins the race on, moving over historical stats. You'll still have the stats site, the archive of all the first of our 20 seasons, and we'll be working with all of our teams behind the scenes to get all that stuff updated. It's not something that can be built in a day, but you'll start to see that information populated on our site throughout the off season. We've got increased multimedia, watching highlights, full games, content creator stuff, all from our website in our multimedia section. You can see already we've got some highlights up from earlier this season. We've got a photo gallery of our stadium construction, and so that's always fun to check out that type of stuff. And then back-end upgrades. So we've made it easier to import and move players, input box scores, keep data moving for every part of the league calendar. With these improvements in partnership with Digital Shift, the SFL is poised to dramatically increase its web presence and coverage of the SFL for years to come. It's our first major upgrade to our website in any big way since season 9 when we changed statistics providers. So super excited about the potential of all this and all that comes with our partnership. And you'll see simulationfl.net here shortly, looking good for all the content creators who have created content over the years on the old website. We're gonna preserve all that information. We're gonna store that. We may do it here on this site. We may do it somewhere else, but we're not going to lose all of your works and all the work you've done over the years. So we're going to get that going here in the months to come. So with that being said, that's the new website. Super excited to get that going, and that will start with the playoffs. You'll see all of your player stats and leaderboards populate during the playoffs this weekend. Jason France, $1.99 super chat. I'm going to need the API for the live scores. It's it never ceases to amaze me, guys. You release something new and they're like, but this is next. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We're always improving things and making things better. Speaking of being next, welcome to the SFL family, Retroid. The Retroid Pocket and the Retroid company becoming the official console of the SFL. Here's what it looks like. And yes, complete with SFL branding on the back of the console. Pre-orders are available and shipping will start May 10th. I want to read you the release. Simulation Football League, presented by APM Music, is proud to announce its partnership with Retroid, a handheld gaming company that brings old video game systems back to life. The partnership puts SFL gaming in your pocket on league-branded hardware and will help the SFL grow its casual fan base through its mod launch in July, ahead of the league's 21st season. Retroid Systems comes with an official game launcher and emulator front end installed through powerful devices that include a 4.7-inch touchscreen and the Android 11 operating system. SFL fans can purchase limited edition SFL branded Retroid Pocket 3 Pluses now through GoRetroid.com. This is a quote from Retroid's social media manager and spokesperson Chris Fiore. I have been a fan of the SFL for many years. We are very excited to help launch SFL 4K23 Season 21 and have the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus be the premier way for players, coaches, and fans and the like experience real football, SFL football. These are exciting times for both organizations as this is our first gaming partnership. We look forward to bringing more exciting games to Retroid Pocket systems in the future. League coaches can enjoy a discount through team-specific promo codes ahead of the league season kickoff weekend, July 28th through the 30th at the 2023 SFL Convention in Cincinnati, Ohio. Limit 4 codes per team. I've been reading the release. Chris Curtis, what's going on in chat?
I mean, at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of excitement from basically everybody. I think the limited edition branding has been the big key so far. I'm on the Retroid website myself, looking at all the different options they have. But this is a keystone for the SFL and for Retroid. I think this is something that's going to be a win-win for both sides and a win-win for everybody in the SFL community. These are awesome looking devices, and I'm so excited to get my hands on one. There's going to be a pre-order coming from me here soon.
Chris is in the chat. Chris covers the Retroid spokesperson and social media manager. He is in the chat to answer any specific Retroid questions you have. But I'll kick things off. Does 2K4 come on Retroid? Does the SFL mod come on Retroid? No, it's not. The emulators are on Retroid, and you'll still have to go through the process, just like you will for a PC, of securing the game and the the software of the console of your choice. But it's the partnership with Retroid. It's the ability to take 2K4 on the go. It's an SFL branded piece of gear, which is not easy to do, folks. It is that what it takes to put two brands side by side on a piece of hardware. Both companies have to believe in one another and believe in what they're doing, to put their brand out there like that. And we're certainly excited to be partnered with them. Cirillo, your thoughts on Retroid? Anything going on in the chat? Anything I may need to answer?
I mean, the chat's been popping off, but for good reason, right? For a long time, while we've been working on this, I thought, man, I maybe need to pick myself up like a Steam Deck to try and play this mod on the go, and now I can do it through the SFL and the SFL partnership. I think Mike O'Neill could speak to this more than me, but for both of us, as people who travel for work, this would have been real nice to have while we were working on the game for the past 6 months.
Absolutely.
Dude, listen, I was going to jump in and say that is so true. If you guys know a little bit about our lifestyles, we're both traveling a lot. But man, to have something that you can physically take with you and play like all of your sims. I think of the major coaches in this league, like Eddie Gage, like Axel Raven. I see these guys nonstop running sims 24/7. Imagine now you can take that with you everywhere you go. And the even better part, I believe, and Chris in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they have a micro HDMI that you can plug up to your TV to put it on the big screen too.
You do, yep.
One thing I'm most excited about, guys, is, when you talk about the casual base, we have 7,000 YouTube subscribers. We have a lot of people that consume the SFL that aren't necessarily players. They're just fans. They love the content. They pick out a favorite team, whatnot. In the last 10 years, the general public can't really play an SFL video game because you only have 8 teams per file. We've never had a complete game before where all of our teams are there, all of our rosters are there. And this allows me to take an SFL video game on a plane and play it, like just for fun, just to have a controller in my hand and load up a couple teams or load up a franchise mode and play with these squads. And so, it just, I feel bad for anyone out there who may have a coach at home because now they can take the SFL to bed with them. And boy, that's hard to beat right there.
Listen, there are some people, I'm looking at you, Harish, who literally took his Xbox on vacation with him earlier this year. That will do that.
Yeah, and that's true. We've had people take their Xbox to work. They take it, to the in the back of their big rig. They take their Xbox on planes and vacations and things. Won't have to worry about that anymore if you have the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. So pre-order discount codes for coaches, the 4 limit per team. Those codes will be available very soon. If you are not a coach and you just want to scoop one up, they start at $149, super affordable, and you can check it out. I put the link to the product in the YouTube chat along with our new league website home temporary page. We'll have that all switched over once we make sure that we have all of our assets that we need to move that domain name over. So that's a look at Retroid. We've looked at the website partnership as well. Do any of you have any other thoughts or things that we need to address before we head on into talking about how progression and how the new system is going to work in the new game for players?
Yeah, I had one more thing, Cam. I just wanted to I know we've already gone through it, but I just want to give a huge shout out to Chris, for helping put this all together and help bringing this to light. Like, tell me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like in the SFL, did you ever see any kind of partnership like this happening for the SFL?
I mean, you think to yourself when you start this up, man, and especially as the years go along, you think, man, we need our own game someday, right? This is the closest we've ever gotten to that. It's not the same, but it is very close. And the fact that we're able to do what we do, through the modding community and all of our support in the, in the 2K4 mod server as well, and that community, it's really, really awesome to be building something that's not new, but that is just enhanced and it just offers more, right? And that's very fulfilling for sure.
Yeah, just tons of gratitude over here.
I see T-Roy's already purchased the Retroid. We've already got one.
Right.
There you go. So that's great. Chris is in the chat. He can answer Retroid specific questions, and we're going to get into some player stuff for season 21. You guys ready?
The first sale would be Baltimore, by the way.
Well, yeah, they're constant overachievers. Would be Baltimore, yes. All right, so we're into phase 2 now of our launch guide. This is progression and team building. We've already released the launch guide for phase 1. That was done a couple of months ago. It's like 8 pages of great. What was that?
That was a dog.
Dogs. Sorry, guys. Dogs.
Man, that was intense. We've already released phase 1. We did that a couple of months ago. You can read all about that stuff. It's got playbook information. It's got, the differences between 2K4 and 2K8, all that good stuff. We're not going to go over any of that tonight. This is all just information that has now been finalized that we now can release. There will be more that we're talking about later on in the evening, but these are some key points that we want to get out here tonight. So we're just going to start with our first slide here. Enter the elite. SFL players will be able to progress most attributes higher than allowed in 2K8 under a revised progression system. This will ensure that you can build yourself a unique build that separates you from the rest of the people playing at your position, giving your player more value. These attributes are not easy to obtain, ensuring that your efforts will give you an advantage over competition. And before anybody thinks, oh my gosh, they're going to loot. Oh my gosh, they're going to pay to win, right? Oh man, we're going to have to pay more to get all the new awesome stuff. You will never get that here, ever. It's always going to be the same price for every player. It's just a different way to play the game. And we want you to feel like an individual, and we want you to feel specialized, that you are great at something that someone is not. And that's a big deal in this system. When you're talking about 2K4 and how the game plays, playbooks and schemes and formations and packages, they are all personnel based. They are all very specific. Every team plays a little bit differently. Every playbook plays a little bit differently. There aren't 500 Randy Mosses. There aren't 500 Tom Bradys, right? There's only one. And we want to bring that kind of personality and individuality into the SFL. I'll take a pause. Curtis, what's the chat saying? Where should we go with this slide here next?
So I'm seeing some absolutely love this. I'm seeing Hammer finna cost a fortune from DB. There's that's the one thing that that I want to make sure that people take away from this, is that with All Pro Football 2K8, it was essentially every game was an all-star game. Everybody had high ratings. Everybody had similar, if not the same ratings. Once one team did something, other teams copied it, and to make sure that they had the best advantage and everyone was on more or less an even playing field from position to position. With 2K23, you are looking at a system that is going to breed on individuality. Every game and every team and every player is going to be different because of what they put into their player. They have their own potential. They have their vision of what they want their player to be. And with this system, you are able to unlock that potential, unlock that vision. So it's not just marketing speak. It's exactly what you're able to do with your player and with the attributes. I'm so excited about what everyone can create with this system.
O'Neal, you're passionate about this as a coach. When you're about to play someone and you're about to play a player that you basically haven't seen all season, and you go, how do I stop that guy?
Man, I get so fired. Anybody that knows me knows I get fired up about this kind of stuff. This is probably my like the thing that I've been most anticipating is just the release of how this is all going to work. So the best part about this, as the SFL knows right now, like every single player caps out at the same, every receiver caps out at the same, ultimately the same attribute rating. Same with quarterbacks, 90 pass strength, 90 pass accuracy. But now, like the people that actually take the time to invest in a specific attribute, let's say you want to go out and you want to be the most accurate quarterback in the league, right? Because the cap is going to be very high. It's probably, I believe, I'm not looking at the sheet right now, is at 99, the cap for like pass accuracy. Well, now you can go out and you can actually do that. You can actually progress that. And yes, will it take a while? Yeah, it will take a while because it's not designed to get there overnight. But the thing is, at that one point, the moment that you get to where you're looking to be, you will be that one player that everybody circles at the top of the screen, that says like, this dude doesn't miss, or this player does not miss whenever they come out to throw the ball. We have to make sure we are keyed in, locked in on defense to stop this. And that goes for every single position. Every single position has, multiple of those primary attributes, quote unquote. But now you get to decide what it is that you want to be elite at, not just like everybody else, that you want to be better than everybody else at. And I think this is such a cool system because it really allows you to, to create your own, like Curtis said, create your own personalized, all-star.
Tarillo, anything you saw in the chat that needs maybe clearing up, or any thoughts?
Well,
just to
I
this
saw
first part?
Type Attack say it's time to defend players and teams and not just plays. And that was
Yes.
one of the things that we wanted to get right with this new system. We wanted game planning and strategizing not to be just about, oh, they run this slant play out of this formation, let's throw this defensive coverage in that always stops that play out of that formation because we know they run it. Kind of checkers kind of mentality. We wanted it to be chess, right? We wanted, to the teams to go, wait, there's this really good wide receiver on this team that we're playing next week. How do we stop them while also making sure that we don't get burned every other way? So it gives a lot more strategy and ins and outs to the coaching side of the game.
Curtis, if you see any questions like Fox's, which is a good question, if you could pin it for me, because we may answer it along the way. But if we don't get to some of these questions that we haven't gotten to, then we can circle back to them.
Fox had one other good one as well that I found, I believe. I might have missed it. Either way, yeah, the one that the very end of it.
Hold it for me. We can,
definitely-
if you find it again, we'll come back to it. Okay,
I'll put it in the channel.
let's move to the next slide. Year-long progression. Once you sign your Season 21 contract, you'll begin to receive weekly progression. Only an active subscription is needed to receive, and bank progression, which can be done over the lifetime of your player's career. That's right, progression never expires. If it's in your bank, it's yours, wherever you go. Year-long, 52-week progression is coming to the SFL. Guys, we always we hit the championship and then we stop. Everything just stops. And we don't want it to stop, because we want progression to, be meaningful, be more strategic, and be something that the most dedicated SFL people gain an advantage with, right? If you're here all year round and you're supporting the league, then that is your benefit. That's your advantage. Whoever wants to start.
Yeah, I think again with it's such a great move because really it's rewarding those who are active, those who are staying through, really, putting the work in, just being a part of the community. It's rewarding the people that are going to be, the best players ultimately are going to be the people that are the deepest and are involved in the community, if that makes sense. The people that are, here every single week, not missing a week, even in the off season. I mean, you think about it like in NFL standards, or, just even in real life, like the off season, you're putting in work. Nobody's, going home and kicking their feet up on the couch for 3 or 4 months. The good players, the elite players, stay active, they stay busy, they stay working at it. And now SFL players can do that as well, through building their progression.
I did see in the chat, I just happened to glance over and saw Stephen Black said, does that mean that you actually progress in the offseason too? You'll be able to bank progression in the offseason? Because we have to sign players to a salary cap, you won't be progressing all 52 weeks, but you'll be banking all 52 weeks and all that bank money in the offseason.
Yep.
Imagine showing up for week 1, right? And your whole squad is ready. You've been here all season long, all off season long, waiting for week 1, ready to go. And now when the season starts, your team has a lot more to spend than another team that's not as dedicated as yours.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's going to gain an advantage there.
Leading us to number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna see who doesn't skip involuntary minicamp. In other words,
Basically, yes. And it should be a great thing. Anything Curtis Tarillo you saw in the chat that we should address before we move on?
Couple things.
Okay.
One, I see one from Stephen Black right away. What kind of subs will be allowed in the formation packages? There's more on that to come. There's a lot of flexibility with the playbooks that will come in time. More information on that soon. Bo Martin Jr. says, I think the attributes should be private. You don't know what players in the NFL are great at and not great at unless you see them on the field and see their stats. SFL should be the same, no copycats. The nice part about this system, Bo, is that even if you're able to see somebody else's attributes, chances are good that you're not actually able to do a
We're about to get
copycat
to that.
scenario. And we're getting into that in slide 3. So watch that.
We're all
and you'll see
laughing.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, but it's great that he brought that up because basically what Bo's saying is I'm tired of copycats. I don't want to see copycats. Well, neither do we, Bo, and we've put in a system that we think is going to dramatically decrease those copycats. Obviously, there's only so many attributes in the game. There's only so much progression, so you're going to see some, but the amount that you're going to see is going to plunge.
Dwindle.
Yes, dwindle. That's another good word. Lots of good words here tonight. All right.
Jabroni's a good word.
It is a good word. Endless player potential.
This is the big one.
No banked progression counts against the salary cap. If you have banked 10, 20, 30, 40 weeks, it doesn't matter. It does not count against the salary cap. So you can actually help a team or help your value by banking. Take weeks saved into free agency, help your team fit under the next salary cap, or save up for elite ratings. Only you have the power to progress. We see who you are this season and who you could be in the coming years. So, O'Neal, I'll start with the first bullet point. Take it into free agency. If you are
massive.
If you are a free agent and you have a crap ton of, we haven't talked about how much progression, you get 10,000 of progression every week, $10,000, right? Quote unquote dollars to spend. 10,000 a week. If you have saved for 20 weeks and you have $200,000 and you go into free agency with $200,000 in your bank, none of that counts against the salary cap for the team that happens to sign you. Any other situation scenarios you want to play out with that, O'Neal?
Dude, so we've had multiple conversations about this, but just to fill everybody else in, let's talk about free agency. Let's talk about, and I don't, let's look at teams that are in rebuild. Let's look at teams that maybe didn't have a good season. Let's look at Queen City this season, right? If Queen City, and I think this is a specific situation we talked about previously, if Queen City, halfway through the season, maybe 3/4 of the way through the season, they know that they're not making the playoffs. Well, Queen City, if they've got loyal players and the coach, everybody's on the same page. Well, at that point, the coach can go to the players and say, listen, guys, we're not making the playoffs this season. Everybody just save through the off season, save through all of it. By the time you get to the next season, well, guess what? You're signing that same Queen City team with all their attributes because that's what the cost is. So you're signing a bunch of 73 overall players, 75 overall players, but they're coming in week 1, they jump from 73 to 85 overall because they've saved so much.
There's another situation for that as well. Say you're a player who is not very happy with how things have been handled on your team. You're planning on testing free agency. If you decide to, nobody can tell you what to do. If you decide to save those progressions and keep those banked going into the next season for whatever team you happen to be on, if you're on the same team, fantastic. If you're on a different team, fantastic. You're able to move that banked progression forward and be able to use that the following season.
Torillo, I'm seeing a lot of in the chat that we're encouraging tanking. Torillo, you are very familiar as a broadcaster with the standings. How many teams were eliminated with 2 weeks to go? Like 3? And
yeah.
where
not many.
Where did that get Queen City? I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, right? I mean, so it's because of the way the playoffs are and the chances that you have. There's only a select real few situations where that may apply, but now teams that have had a bad season, they can gain an advantage over a team that's chasing a championship that they previously couldn't do.
And here's the thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say I was seeing some chat going on, and I think that realistically tanking's not going to be a thing because of what we have in place for the progression system and the cost of the attributes. You're not going to be able to just jump up to a 90-something overall overnight. But go ahead, finish what you're saying, Trillo.
So I can understand where people are coming from in the whole tanking thing, but you look at professional sports, right? Look at, for the past couple of years, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Or my Orlando Magic right here in my hometown. They know they're not going to be very good, so they go out, and in the real world, you get better draft picks. In here, you get better value if you save more. So I understand where that comparison is coming from, but I don't think it's going to be an issue.
You also have restrictions of what you can progress each week. You're not going to see a player be able to go up plus 30 in speed in 1 week, right? So you're not going to see anything unrealistic like that. It's, once you save a whole bunch, at some point, you should probably spend something, right? You should probably get a little better. Gives a lot of teams a little bit more flexibility. Curtis, you see anything in the chat that we haven't touched on? That
I'm seeing one right now. If I was just replying to it, but I'll bring it up to the light. Edward Diggs, what's to keep a team with high retention from just having team bank, not technically tanking, as a plan for multiple seasons and really upgrade 2 to 3 seasons from now? Yes, you technically could do that, but then you also sacrifice your ability in the short term. You're probably going to come up with short end of the stick in ability versus a team that is progressing week to week trying to chase a title. So yeah, you can have high retention, but if you're losing a fair amount and you don't have a shot at the playoffs, then there's nothing stopping you from banking those attributes. You absolutely can.
And keep in mind, if you're a player that does not want to bank, you don't have to.
Right.
So it's something that is everything's a calculated move in in the SFL, and that's what we want to see.
Yeah, if I can address too, I think TMG just said in the chat that tanking doesn't guarantee a championship the following season. And how true is that? I mean, you see, even in the exhibitions that we've done, like we've had exhibitions with 80 something overall versus like 72 overall, and the 72 overall is one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not attributes. It's not going to be like, it's going to be attributes combined with personnel, combined with playbook that gets you really the wins. You could have an elite team, and like I said, it's not going to be able to be built overnight. But even if you have a team with good ratings, there's a lot of other pieces to that puzzle.
There's something else to consider too. You figure, I don't want to pick on the NBA, but let's pick on the Philly 76ers for a second. You talk about trusting the process and trusting that they were tanking all the way through. And how many titles did they win in that process? 0. So it does not guarantee you a championship, and it doesn't guarantee you a championship here either.
Sean Perrin in the chat, hyped about the Retroid Partnership. He's had a Retroid Pocket 2 Plus for almost a year and a half, and absolutely loving it.
Snap!
So we love that Sean. We love that Sean has been in there already. Curtis, is that what you were oohing about, or something
No, it
else?
was not. Fox Highwind brings up a really, really good point in chat. He says, if a team jumps up a ton, all of that will go towards the next offseason, making it harder to keep that team together. That's part of the chess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It is all part of the chess. All right, here's a big one. Affect the competition. The more you progress an attribute, the harder it becomes for someone else to achieve your skill level. Dynamic attribute cost will allow every player's decision to affect another's. Be strong and make someone else hurt to be more like you. Torillo, if you are just the greatest corner in coverage, you are just awesome. Well, you're helping drive up the cost of cornerback coverage for every other corner in the entire league. And every time a corner increases that coverage, it costs more to get coverage, which forces corners to think about, maybe I want to progress something else instead and be a different type of player, right? Maybe I can be a run stopper. Maybe it's consistency or stamina or agility or aggressiveness, or maybe there's some other identity that I can latch onto, because the league is just not going to let everyone have max coverage, because then everyone becomes the same and you lose your individuality. Now's the time to not only find who you are, who you want to be as a player, but also what's the strategy to keep others from doing it as well.
I think, I don't remember who said it. Oh, Bridge City Burns said it. Basically, the attribute stock market. Not exactly, but you could think about it that way, yes.
Yeah, the changes are a little less dynamic, but I mean, this speaks to the individuality of players. If you yourself have a 90 plus speed rating, you are driving up the speed rating for every other player in the same position as you. So if you're a wide receiver and you want to be a burner, you can be a burner. And if you are a burner first, it will cost you less than wide receiver number 2 coming in and saying, hey, I also want to be a burner. Well, it's going to cost you a little more, buddy. Sorry about that. and that's exactly how that's supposed to be. You can be good at some things, a little less good at other things, and you can be, well, really good at a couple of things, but you also have to fit that within your team's salary cap. Otherwise, it makes things very difficult for your coaching staff.
Teams have to pay for that too when it's all said and done, and every player is stressed. Somebody asked in the chat when does it update? It updates every week. So every week, once progression is all submitted, then the averages are recalculated. We're talking about what we're calling percentage max, and we're talking about, your player being 100% maxed, 90% maxed, 80% maxed, meaning your rating is 20% away. If you're 80% maxed, 20% away from being maxed. And the closer you get to being maxed, the more it costs the team in the salary cap, and the higher it drives the cost for the rest of the league, right? And trying to better ensure that we see unique builds around the league.
Cirillo, there's a chat. You go for it.
Yeah, so we had a question from Edward Diggs. Will this mean the cap continues to rise since we don't have retirement and players will only continue to be more expensive to keep on the roster? Yes.
Yes. We want the cap to be something that teams continue to grow into. We don't want to see the cap as something that is constantly a yo-yo where you are having to cut and add and cut and add and cut and add. Who wants that, right? Who wants to keep dropping and adding the same animations all off season long? We want to see players grow and develop into their identities, into themselves, and we want to make this. How would you best describe it, O'Neal? Not a jog instead of a sprint, but we want to see development over time as players and teams grow into their new identity in the new game.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty accurate. We want this to be a slow build, We want people to be, look, we don't want to see, and let's just be honest, we don't want to see every single player on a team being, maxed out, or 10 players at least on a team being maxed out everywhere. Right. And we want to encourage individuality with builds because there's so much more that you can do with players, especially whenever you throw in like formation subs and all that in the mix, with different attributes. So it's going to be really cool. And I wanted to touch on, I know that there was a chat, somebody was asking, I think it was Steven Black. Regardless, I wanted to touch on the fact that it's not like if one person's maxed out that nobody else can get up there. For one, it would take a very, very, very long time for one person to get maxed out. It goes off of the league's percentage. So if majority, let's say talking about quarterbacks, if quarterback throw power, if the average attribute rating for quarterback throw power is 90, well, it's going to be pretty expensive to progress that. Whereas, let's say quarterback jumping was like 40 or 50, and I don't know what you'd use quarterback jumping for, but it would be cheap to progress because not everybody's doing it. And this is a weekly change. I think it encourages individuality. And like you said, we're really trying to force teams into like building, over time and planning and actually having players be elite. I think about it from an analyst point of view, and I know that everybody in this chat can speak of it from an analyst point of view. We want to see matchups. We want to go into games and see, people that are unique, players that are unique, with specific things to watch out for that broadcasters can call out for, things that build parity. And I think that this is really going to be, an immersive season for the SFL in season 21.
DJ Woods asked about injuries affecting attributes. Well, durability is now a progressible stat. If you don't progress your health, well, then you're more likely to get hurt. So that's something else to consider.
I'm going to jump on that, Cam, a little bit. We were running some alpha testing of the new roster rules last week, and I forgot to do durability, and we saw it a lot. So, yes, you will want to progress your durability or you will get hurt.
Any other stuff in the chat, guys, that you saw?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can delve into this, Cam. Rationale for min-max for attributes.
Yeah, sure.
Is there something that we can go into?
Yes, the rationale for min and max. We went through the original base game. We did this in a similar fashion for All Pro when we moved over to All Pro, and we created the progression system that was launched 5 years ago. And we said, we went into the rosters of 2K4 and we said, okay, we're going to look at all the quarterbacks and we're going to see who the worst pass strength guy is, and we're going to see who the best pass strength guy is, and those are going to be our mins and maxes. So, if the developers of the game themselves did not think that something was realistic or something too low or too high would be problematic, well, we're not going to do it either. So we've set those mins and maxes for every player, every attribute, and they're all unique. They are all their own scale, so to speak, and so that should create the realism we're looking for, because ultimately that's what was released with the game as well. Anything else?
Yes, the Real Rain Man says, what about contracts? Will we be able to keep players more than one season? This is one that I can answer. Not yet. This does open the door, potentially, down the road for multi-season contracts. It also opens the door, potentially, down the road. This is not a guarantee for things like trades. So don't get too excited yet. A lot more on that to come if it's able to happen well down the road.
I've seen a couple of people ask about, can we change our current height and weight when we switch? Cam,
Yes.
any news on that?
Sure. What we're trying to do, this is a massive league. We have almost 800 players. We've got over 5,000 textures to go through the game. Simply put, it's a massive undertaking to be an operator of a cruise ship and also be building a replica cruise ship alongside it with all the new bells and whistles and technology. If you think about it as that analogy, that's what we are trying to do here. So for us as a league, what we are trying to do is we are trying to port everyone over as best we can to the specs of the new game. We would like to do some height and weight adjusting long term and integrate that within progression itself. However, that's not a priority of Season 21. We want to make sure that we get everyone in the game, that we get you your right skin tone, that your number's correct, right? It's a little bit back to the basics, but obviously we've been working on a lot of heavy details as well. So height and weight is something that does impact, but considering all that we have going on, we want to make sure that we get all of the key transfer things right, and so that's where our focus is right now. So look at that like trades or multi-season contracts. It's something that is down the road for us in the transition. The rules are still the same, your height's still the same, but your weight can fluctuate, that kind of thing. So if we have a change of thought on that, we'll release more details at that time.
There's something to the future to speak on that as well with height and weight, and you touched on it a little bit, but I want to make sure it's clear. With this new game, your height and weight will affect your progression levels. How much you can max out your current speed, for instance. If you're a 6'7" tree, it's a wide receiver, you may not be able to move as fast as someone who is 6'3" but can run the more complicated routes in less time. So there's a big difference to that, and there's going to be some choices to be made for your player and by your team with you to get that done.
Down the road. Anything else?
Down the road, yes.
Anything else? Can we move on, guys? Do we see anything in the chat that we need to address?
How will cap be determined season to season?
Yeah, I mean, we really want to get an idea of how much a team can potentially progress in one season. How much does a player increase to the cap, and then setting that cap accordingly. We want teams to grow their rosters. We want roster expansion, in the coming seasons, so that these teams can continue to build into their identities. So before the season begins, you will have season 22 salary cap. You will know a season in advance what you are building towards, what you are building to, and it's not something that the league wants teams to look at and go, oh my gosh, we're going to have to go to all of our players and tell them, I'm sorry, but we just can't offer you, what you are and who you are. We really don't want that to be our future, and so you'll be able to plan for that accordingly as teams continue to build towards the future. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Identity builds. So we've talked about this. SFL 4K23 player builds focus more on the specific things your player does well in order to separate you from the rest of the player pool. Be the type of player you've always wanted to be without restrictions of archetype builds and lower maximums, and without fear that you'll just end up being like everyone else. And that's essentially what we've been saying this whole time. The system is going to prevent everyone from being like you. It's going to be impossible for everyone to be like you, right? And so that's gonna clear up and ensure that we protect your identity as a player. Anybody else have any comments on that before we move on?
I think we pretty much touched on it within the past couple.
Yeah.
Salary cap for season 21 is $25 million. We'll go through a brief look at the cap calculator. Every single team ownership group has received the cap calculator. It is a rough draft, call it a beta. The portal is under construction, and as soon as the portal is complete, we will begin signing players to season 21. So that's in motion, but we've given teams essentially a rudimentary version of what it might look like to build a team and what your player might look like. And look, your team should be discussing with you who you want to be and what they want to see out of you, right? What kind of player are you? What kind of player do you want to be? And trying to, build an identity about what they want to be as coaches and as organizations alike. So those are the types of discussions that you'll likely be having over the next month or two.
Yeah, I think it's.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's awesome, the fact that we're heading in a direction that, everybody really gets to be their own individual player, and it's really going to have to be planned out, what players are going to be what. And like we've talked about before, it's really going to depend on, you're going to have teams are going to have an entire build or an entire plan as to, what kind of personnel are we going to have, who's going to be good at what, who's going to be doing what, because with formation subs, there's so many pieces to the puzzle. There's multiple pieces to the puzzle that it's going to take in order to build a championship team.
All right.
Ox High Wind.
Yeah.
Will we get a comprehensive breakdown of this info and cap info in the SFL Discord?
Absolutely. We will drop this. We'll drop this PDF in our 4K23 updates as soon as our live stream is over, and we'll maybe be able to timestamp some discussion as well in this video, so people can go back to it. All right. A lot of people asking about animations. Here you go. Animations will count as a signing bonus for each player to be used over the lifetime of their progression. High-value animations will provide a one-time $20,000 boost to progression. Low-value animations will provide a one-time $10,000 boost to progression, helping you further build your new identity. If you have 5 high-value animations, that's $100,000 in your bank for progression heading into next season. That's an equivalent of 10 weeks of progression that you're able to build into a player. And talking about, repurposing your identity, O'Neill, this was important to us. We're moving over to the new game. Maybe this is a chance for someone to start fresh, to be something that they really didn't feel like they were able to be in APF because it was a race to the top for ratings. And this is going to help you do that. If you've got a bunch of money in your bank, you can invest in things like quarterback speed and maybe you took some cuts to fit under a salary cap for a team, but you're looking to get back something specifically And you'll be able to do that with these animations. It's not about leadership is another good one. Leadership is a progressible stat for every player in 2K4. It was not progressible in 2K8. It was only an animation base. So every single player has a min-max of leadership that can be improved, and so this type of animation transfer can help players do that. Anything to add on that, O'Neal?
Yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much said it for the most part. I think it's just going to be exciting to see where players go with this, and this is great. It's a signing bonus for players that have those extra boosts, like that they can really invest in. And it's going to be interesting to see where everybody goes with this, because I mean, there's so many different things. For me, I think of like, first thing that jumps to my head is like a corner, right? That wants to progress or throw their animation money into like physicality or like strength, to be like the most physical corner, and even like tackle, like having a higher tackle rating, just being a really, really, really dominant physical corner on the outside. And these are things that are really going to be, I mean, the people with animations are gonna have a jump forward, right? Deservedly so, because they had those extra things in the old game, and then moving forward, it's really gonna be, and it's not gonna be, again, take everything. It's not going to be so extreme. Like it's not going to be like everything, with $20,000, you're going to jump up 5 attribute points. Nothing like that. No, but it is going to help get you towards, kind of give you a boost or a little bit of a head start towards being elite in one category.
We're going to pull up in the chat. Would love to hear your thoughts about the new progression system. Go ahead, Curtis.
I was going to say there's a lot of talk about where, like, what people are worth currently. And I want to kind of broach that because it's a bit of a touchy one. But the biggest thing to take away from this is, yes, if you take the current construction of SFL rosters from APF 2K8 and you try to plug them into the salary cap, you're going to be over your cap by about player 6. That being said, what is going to happen this offseason for those that are re-signing with their teams, for those that are going into free agency, is those conversations between GMs and owners and potential players. It's going to be fairly similar to how they are now, but with much more detailed discussion. They're going to probably come to you with, where they want you and where you would fit in their salary cap at a current level. Now, realizing that you start banking progressions as you sign your season 21 contract, you won't have any banked to move forward with initially, but going into the off season of season 21 into season 22, you will have banked progressions that you can use towards the team at that time that won't count against the salary cap. So things will be a little bit more team based as far as that goes for the first off season, I would say, Cam, and I would like your opinion on it. But then getting into the next off seasons and during the season as well, you're going to be able to individually focus on your attributes.
It's a different game, folks. That's
Yep.
my thought on it. The game is built for strategy, individuality, and team identity, player identity, and so we have to build a system that can properly reflect that for you as a player, for you to be able to stand out and shine. So. Those are my thoughts on that. Tarillo, anything in the chat? Any thoughts?
I've seen some people, Mighty and Pseudo, ask about generics.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on generics going forward? You don't have to give numerical values, but in a sense of where do you think the generic system is going as we transition into the new game?
Number one, we're working on that. It's a very analytical process. There's no guide as to what your generics will look like. The league is not as concerned about generics because they are not real people playing this in this competition. So we have been very, very focused up to this point on on the customers, on the players, and trying to build a system that will reflect them in a positive way and give them new leverage and give them new goals to obtain with increased maximums and things like that. So, generics is in early testing. We're looking at where to exactly fit those players and how those ratings are going to work. But that has not been our primary focus up to this point.
And immediately, both Pseudo and Mighty said, my concern is generic O-line. It's our concern too.
Yes.
We are working on it.
Yes, great point. And we acknowledge that O-line is different. And I was just talking with a member, a general manager of a team on my way home today, and he was talking about how, offensive, every other position in the league has players that play backups. You have nickel DBs, you have dime DBs, you have wide receivers 4 and 5, and you have tight end 3, and you have all these different offensive linemen. All your players are starters, all of them, and even the generics are starting. Right? They are out there, they are playing, and we cannot get our guy killed. We cannot have our running back averaging 0.5 yards a carry. We don't want to see that garbage offense either, right? So we're going to make sure that there is a balance between an advantage of having a skilled user lineman, and also that you're not going to get totally destroyed by having none. But at the same token, we want it to be an advantage if you do have some, right? So there is a balance in that, but that balance takes testing, and so we're going to work through that. Before we make any rash decisions, we're going to make sure that these ratings provide a pretty good balance there. So yeah, generic O-line when it comes to generics is definitely the number one concern. Is there anything else?
Don't see anything major.
Okay. Well, let's see. Great night. That's what we have. We can, we're not going to dabble in it too much. All of your teams have the cap calculator, but we can show off kind of what that might look like and what that might entail. If I could find it on my, I guess I must have closed it. I'm just going to have to reopen it again. That's wild. Sometimes when you have 80 windows open at the same time, it doesn't necessarily give you an advantage. Mike O'Neill, I'll turn to you on this. We start with an overview, and obviously this is a team with way more than 23 players, right? $62 million. Everybody's getting max deals thrown out there, all sorts of stuff, right? So that's obviously not what it's going to look like, but really, most importantly, let's take a very popular position like wide receiver, and let's build a receiver and the challenges of building that receiver. What kind of receiver do you want to build, O'Neill? Give me somebody that is super great, right? Build me a good one.
So I would say, let's talk about, everybody, wants to jump to speed and agility, but let's talk about, maybe like a Julian Edelman, right? Let's talk with somebody that's like a third down, like your surefire hands, somebody that's going to be trusted. Not too fast, not super agile or anything, but, pretty precise route runner and great hands. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay. So we're looking at run, route, and catch. Now in these, I'm seeing, now you can't add ratings to what you don't have on All Pro, right? So you're not going to be a 98 right out of the jump. If you're if 90 was a max, we're saying, okay, right? We're keeping that, right? We're keeping that catch and route.
That's what we're investing in.
That's what we're investing in. So that's going to cost a little over $500,000 for catch and run route to be that high, right? And you can see your percentage max. You are 86% of the way to maxing catch, to maxing run route. And you can see your maximums here. They're 98, right? That's higher than the 90 that they were in All Pro. So you're 86% of the way there. That's going to cost you $239. Now, let's say that you're more than 86% of the way there. Let's talk about an attribute like, what do we got? Like stamina, okay?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
So stamina in All Pro was 80, and if you translate that 80 over into this system, you are 100% maxed. That means your stamina rating will cost nearly $1 million against the cap because you are the best you can be. You have the best stamina that you possibly can be at this position. It's going to cost A lot. Now, if you drop that by just 5 points, it's going to go down to $442. You just saved $500,000 by dropping it 5 points. Everything at the top is really, really, really expensive. Everything
by
below
design.
is by design, exactly, is really, really cheap. So you can see, this player's, what do we got here? Let's find something. Strength.
So we're looking at strength. Yeah.
This is not a strong receiver. This is not someone that's going to be a bruiser, right? This is someone that's going to get hit and crunched, right? Only a 67% max. It's only 32,000 against the cap.
Yep.
That's a far cry from the 239,000 that the 86%.
It's one of those situations, where the top 3% is more expensive than the other 97%.
Yes. And what we want players to do, right, is if they're investing in something like catch or like run route and they want to be the best they can be, it's going to take you a while to be the best you can be, but it's so hard to achieve that you're going to be you're going to be an elite run route. You're going to be an elite catch. You're going to be someone that when teams play you, they're going to say, oh, that's a problem. They are going to be a problem.
Circle them at the top of the board. Yep. That's going to be, so if I'm looking at this, I think, I'm looking over at durability. We talked about this, right? That's going to be something immediately you're going to have to invest in. And I would say, I honestly recommend being over 60 to 65, realistically.
Certainly can't be 15. Good luck with that.
No. First play, out for the game. Yeah. I would put it at 65. Let's put it at 65.
All right, let's take a look at that. So it's going to go from $32 to $23,000.
Not bad.
Easy.
Yeah, you can work with that. The other thing I'm looking at, especially when you're talking about a receiver like this, for surefire hands and somebody in the big moments, composure, 110%. You want them to be there when it counts. Let's put composure. Let's try composure at 87.
So maybe you had 90. Right in APF, like maybe it was maxed out, right? So you're thinking, we definitely want to keep something like that. 215,000 is pretty pricey. 85% max. What if you went 80? You said, okay, I think we can get rid of 80. 84,000. You just shaved 200 grand off.
Yeah, that's a big price difference right there, especially whenever you're talking about managing an entire team.
You'll notice that every different attribute is so different with min and max. You talk about wide receivers are 71 to 99, tight ends are 27 to 94. A tackle is 27 to 73, right? So if you've got a wide receiver speed at 92 and you have and you have a tackle speed at 72, it costs you 814 grand to have 72 speed on a tackle because it's 98% max. It's almost there. You have almost reached your full potential in that attribute. And so, and I want to clarify for the chat, this is cost to team in the salary cap. This is not necessarily cost to progress that attribute, right? It does not cost you in this case, it does not cost you 76,000 to go, to get 92 speed, right? That is all dependent upon what's going on around the league, and that works in a different way. This is just team building, player building type stuff, just so you can see how your rating can dramatically be affected. If you are, for example, if you're 60 jump, it's $1,500 as a wide receiver.
Yep.
If you're a 70 jump, it's 9,000. Okay, we've gone a little higher. If it's 80 jump, it's 45,000. It's gone up 5 times, even though you've just gone up another plus 10. If it's 90, it goes up to 239,000. So now you've increased it by nearly $200,000. As you get closer, it gets more expensive. That will help keep teams and player individuality in check. Torillo, you had a thought, something to say?
I did. Back when you were talking about, this is going to be your clutch guy, the guy with a great catch, great run route. But then if I'm a defensive coach, I can go in my formation subs before the game and say, well, how do I put my top corner or safety on that player as much of the time as possible.
Curtis, we have questions in the chat.
Questions on the back end involving Portal that we don't have entirely. With the Portal under construction, there's only so much we can give out because there's only so much that's available yet. People asking basically weekly update files and the procedure of those being sent out with like updated rosters and progressions and all that. And a lot of that, keep in mind, is going to be on a memory card file. So I'm not for sure how that procedure is going to work, and I don't know if you can answer that question at all right now.
I mean, we're developing everything as fast as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Right now, the league can say that you'll receive an updated roster file each week. How you will go about doing that, how it goes about working, right? Because it's not about exporting individual teams now anymore, because all the teams are on the same file. So it is a different procedure and a different process. As we work through the back end coding of what that means to integrate into the new game, I'm not going to say for certain exactly how it's going to work, because I don't have that answer for you. All I can say is that it's in development, and we continue to work on things like that. But at the bare minimum, everybody, public, even people that aren't in the league, right, will release a roster update, for our mod, essentially, every week, throughout the season.
Yep.
Pseudo asking, how much will it cost to bring a QB from base leadership, which all will start with up to a manageable rating? If we're talking about salary cap stuff.
Well, everything with leadership, everything with every attribute, right, goes from essentially 0, the bottom, to maximum $1 million, right? So if your leadership on your quarterback is 30, it costs you nothing. If your leadership on your quarterback is max, it costs you nearly $1 million. That's the same.
Put it at like 75. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So every attribute works the same. So a 75 leadership, 65% max is 26,000. Now leadership is different, right? Because it wasn't in, it was only in an animation in All Pro. It was not a progressible statistic. We'll be figuring out what that transfer over is, right, for players, in the weeks to come, because leadership is a tricky one. It's also a tricky attribute to really fully understand as well. So we continue to run through testing. Really, this calculator is there to help players and teams understand, right, how a team can be built.
Yep.
So that's a look at the cap calculator. Every team has access to this. If you have questions, you can always shoot me a DM, of course. But over the course of the off season, we will continue to have Q&A sessions through Discord. There's a Curtis, you remember what the feature's called, where people can raise their hands? It's like being in a classroom.
No, I tried to think about it the other day and I can't think of it. It's like a presentation or something.
Yeah.
That
So we'll have presentations, throughout the off season to fill anybody in, catch anybody up, and then obviously this Phase 2 guide will be alongside the Phase 1 launch guide that we've already released, and then of course, with the new website, Retroid Pocket 3, right, we continue to roll out the SFL on this game. We are about, in terms of texture replacement, we're about 23% complete, and we've been working on this a really long time. Now, we have had a full season going on, 168-game regular season that just ended. The league will now have more time at its disposal to devote to the transition, and you'll start to see things come out a little bit faster than maybe they have in the last couple of months with attention diverted. Cirillo, you got anything?
Discord calls it a stage, by the way.
Stage, thank you.
Saw something, I don't remember who said it, but about how we will submit things, and I took that to mean about visual files. There will be a list that the league puts out of what files you need to submit to the league each week or each season, be that uniforms, be that stadium, be that gloves, sleeves, all that kind of good stuff.
Yep. It'll all be it'll be a folder system. The SFL will look over your submission in the off season If we notice that there's something missing or there's something wrong or there's something that did not transfer over correctly, then we'll work with the teams on that. So there will be some, there will be deadlines laid out for stadiums and uniforms and all that stuff in the coming months. But we still have 3 months until the convention, which is nearly sold out, by the way. Get your rooms now because they're going fast. But yeah, that we'll have all of that organized as we move forward. And obviously through our exhibitions, we've been able to test through that process, figure out what's going to be best, the challenges we face, the hurdles we've overcome, that kind of stuff. Because, it's a lot. So we want to make sure that we've got you guys as much information as possible, as quickly as possible. DJ,
I saw Fox saying he had a pinned question in the chat. I'm not sure if that was...
I missed that apparently. Yeah. Do you want to give us your pin question again? We can move on and we'll come back to it.
Retype it, Fox.
Is there such a thing as a pinned question in the chat?
It's just one that scrolled up that we missed.
Okay. Yeah, I must have missed it.
I saw something here. Hold on. That was I saw somebody say something, ask, is the maximum number of players on a team increasing for next season? If so, what will it be?
Yes, so the minimum is 23. That's the same as this season, but the maximum is increasing to whatever you'd like to roster. If teams want to build depth early and they want to get a head start and they have the ability to do so, fantastic for them. But this salary cap, the initial $25 million salary cap, if you build heavily on depth, we're talking 28, 29, 30 players, it's pinch and pennies time out there. But
yeah,
if you're trying to grow, ahead of the curve and get that depth going and be prepared essentially for any situation you might run up against in 4K23, more power to you. I believe, O'Neal, the game maxes at 54, right? They won't let you put any more on the roster?
53, yeah.
53, yeah.
Yeah, 53.
So,
but I'm seeing people ask about formation subs too. What's going to be the rules on formation subs and what's the deal with formation subs?
Yeah, formation subs are really interesting in this game. It's very intuitive and intelligent. It's up to the teams first and foremost. Formation subs and packages and audibles, that all comes with the playbook file, and that is something that a team will submit. If you notice someone's not in the right formation or something's not right, well, back to the drawing board, because I just put the file in. I didn't touch it, right? So that's really important, because teams will be able to have a higher level of detail than what I could provide. Whereas in the past, I've been putting in only formation subs that essentially fixed what was broken. And teams did not really have a chance to diversify themselves in that way. Now they have that ability. And so, I'll be...
To answer Patriarch... To answer Patriarch's question, to answer Mighty's question, pretty much just get creative with it. The game does allow out of position formation subs, so you can put anybody anywhere. Obviously, remember there's going to be pros and cons to putting a player out of position. You might have it where a specific matchup, for instance, you want to put an offensive lineman or a defensive tackle or something at running back. Well, you better make sure his secure ball is decent, because he might fumble. There's a high chance he might fumble. Now, he might get some push and help you, in a goal line situation, but there's pros and cons to that.
J.W. Doyle having a wet dream about anybody anywhere formation subs. Look, this game knows if you suck or not. And it will tell you. if you put an offensive lineman and wide receiver, his rating's going to drop to 8, and you're going to hate yourself. So the game already intuitively distinct, it knows based on ratings if a player can be successful in a specific spot, of game planning. So
there
yes,
are tackle eligible pass plays.
There are. There's more creativity, but at the same time, the game is going to let you know that that's not really smart. And if the game doesn't know that it's not really smart, I'll have no problem telling you that you're not and telling you you can't do it anymore. And if you think that's not fair, well, then you can take your ball and go home, because we're here to play actual football and not play in a sandbox.
I like it.
Simulation Football League, ladies and gentlemen.
Pseudo says, will there be any illegal plays? I'm assuming, Cam, that the same illegal plays from APF would probably translate over, no?
No, well, so in APF, trick plays were taken out. The AI did not run them, and it would be a way to circumvent, right, the rules. But in 2K4, if you put in, 8 wide receiver reverses, well, they actually call them. And it's only going to count as one play in your playbook. So there's no way to meta or work around, circumvent the rules. Now, if along the way we find that there is a play that is broken, either offense or defense, there's over 10,000 plays in the game, more than all pros. So it is possible that, it is a game made by humans after all, that 1 or 2 out of 10,000 could be, broken or damaged. And if we find those, then we'll take the proper precautions to put that on a ban list somewhere. But right now, we have to actually start playing games first, and really get into the grid of the season before we start worrying about how are we going to break stuff. Let's just figure out how to play the game first.
I told you, I think back in December when you were fretting about something, I said people will break this. That's fine. We will fix it.
Right. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what people do.
Pseudo mentions, can halfbacks return kicks? Asking for a friend. Yes, they can. That's per the position change. You can make that happen if you so choose. Bo Martin Jr. asks, how will position changes works? 1 for the initial switch, and 2 in the seasons to follow. And that's one I'll revert to you, Cam.
Say one more time, Curtis. The end.
1 for the initial switch from APF to 2K, and then 2 in the seasons to come. He mentions position switches such as tight end to running back or wide receiver to corner.
Yeah, position changes are the same as they are now. It's all bound by the same rules and restrictions. Attributes carry over. There's nothing different about that system at all. You're not going to have an offensive lineman going to kicker.
Yeah, but formation subs really opens the door to a lot of that. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to switch positions anymore. You could just be utilized in a separate position on certain packages.
Got a question from Doyle. Will certain positional caps be elevated to fit modern standards? Tall, mobile tight ends, edge rushers, fast linebackers, etc.
Well, we have mins and maxes in the system. Let's just start there. And, if we get to a point where a max is too high or a max is being exploited somehow, then like Torillo said, then we'll fix it. But considering that this brand new system where getting to max is very, very difficult in something, it's harder to, have it happen at scale, I guess is a good way to put it. So considering that these may be isolated incidents, if they do come up, look, we're not trying to play God here. We understand that every single thing that we touch as people is going to be imperfect, and we'll just see how it looks on the field. But we feel pretty confident, obviously, as we've done some extensive work on this, that this system is going to provide us not a perfect world, but a better world for us all to play in.
I think we finally solved the mystery of Fox's pinned question.
Sure.
Will we be building our players from scratch based on our current values? I'm pretty sure we answered that going in, that we're importing things as close as possible, but the salary cap changes are going to need to be made.
Correct.
No?
It's the same way that signing your player has worked for many, many years. You have your ratings that you've earned. You can keep them all. Teams are going to sign you at what they can afford, and you can choose whether or not to accept that or try and get a better contract somewhere else. So it all works the same as it has been, and it's not a build from scratch situation.
Right, we're not adding on, we're just cutting down
Right,
in
correct,
areas.
Correct. Identity building.
There you go.
Player numbers. Are player numbers going to be able to be changed? DB, wide
Oh,
receiver,
God.
everything with this?
Right now, the portal functions with the number restrictions. In order for that to be lifted, the portal would have to have an adjustment and code would have to be changed. It is a low priority as we continue the transition into the new game.
Okay. I don't have any more, I don't think.
Yes, Jacob.
yes,
Scroll back about 20 minutes ago where we talked about it. Non-copyright stadium music for Team Stadium, says Sultan. I don't think that...
You can't change in-game sounds as far as I know.
Correct. And we will not be manually inserting them either. That's softball walk-up written all over it. And if you've ever been in sports information, you know what a burden that is. Doyle says numbers should be the highest priority. I couldn't agree more. That's why I came up an hour and 37 minutes into the show. Hey, this was awesome crowd, first off. Thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight. Show up for the playoffs. Go support your fellow, community members in the playoffs, unless you're, like, really, really hurting because you just got eliminated or something. But please go and support them. Cheer on, the teams that you want to see win the title. It's always a special occasion to get into the postseason. And we're super excited about it. Paul and I will kick it off tomorrow at 5:30 with Vancouver and Indy. I think, fellas, we're going to pause it all for now. I think we've covered a lot here tonight in an hour and a half. And that's all we have for you, but that's a lot for you. Final thoughts, Mike O'Neill.
Yeah, man, I'm just really excited heading into this new chapter. I think there's a lot of creativity brewing in a lot of SFL minds right now as we speak. I know there's probably multiple people, already in the lab as we speak. So I think it's really exciting to see where this goes from here, and just excited for the playoffs, for the championship, and then to get to that off season, because I know there's going to be a lot of people working hard.
Chris Curtis.
I don't want to temper people's hype, because that's not what I'm really excited about this, just as you guys are. There are questions abound. There are questions that are going to come up after this. There are questions that are probably brewing in your minds right now. But please be aware that this is a move. This is a transition to a new game. So the questions that you have, there may not be answers to yet, and that's okay. We figure them out together, and we adjust as we can. It's there was an adjustment period when the league moved to APF in answering the questions that came up. There's going to be a similar adjustment period with more complexity to this move as well. So I plead for patience among the league community, and I think Cam, would you echo those sentiments?
I sure would. Mike Torillo.
Yeah, just everything these guys have said. It's going to be super exciting. We've seen it through the exhibitions, right? That in the last couple of exhibitions, we've had teams to the cap, and we've had teams submitting playbooks to the new rules, and it's looked like good football. And in the testing that we've been doing behind the scenes, it's looked like good football. So I'm excited for the direction the league is going. Also, get your uniforms and stadiums and gear made and posted. I love looking at them. I love seeing what creative people you all are, so keep that coming.
I'll finish things off with this. Over the years, we hear your complaints. We see every time you get upset about the timeout. We see every time you get upset when a player spins back in bounds. We see every time you get upset when a team onside kicks with 5 minutes to go, only down 4. We see everything. And as the CEO of this company, the commissioner of this league, I want and strive to give you the very best product that I possibly can, that my staff possibly can, that all of our volunteers possibly can. And at some point, I said I can no longer stand by this product as being 100% that I know this is best for our community, and I said we're going to see if we can do better. We are trying to do better, and we hope that you enjoy the changes. If you don't, I understand. We tried. We're not afraid of failure here in the SFL, and we hope that you all enjoy it as we roll out. And I can't wait to see all of you who are coming to Cincinnati to kick things off. All I can say, Torillo, is I don't think people are going to be leaving in the midday game. I think everybody's pretty much going to be glued all weekend long. Oh, goodness. Launch guide, phase 2, Retroid, digital shift, new website, new console. Let's go. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you for the playoffs tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody.